journey, growing freely, no ceiling, no roof. Going deep with no stones to entangle my roots like they do.
Waking up tired and waiting for the horizon to appear. Remind me this work is all for love again. Looking ahead, I see hope in the sky. Give me access and I won't be denied. I won't let go, just hold tight to my head. The world that we knew would return here. Living my dreams without no fear.
Cure that will wipe away all tears.
I hate that my hands can't touch you. My arms and soul hold to the memories and dreams. Knowing my heart that I won't let go. Misery every day, hard to be unafraid. Everything is not the same no more. Policies stay the same. They should be ashamed. They should try to hide their face. There is a light that I'm chasing in life. It won't be put out. Thankful I'm alive. Ready or not, I will rise to a brighter day. A world without wars at Elijah. Grateful for all of the
The International Festival of Arts and Ideas is created and produced on the traditional lands of the Mohegan, Mashantucket Pequot, Eastern Pequot, Schaghticoke, Golden Hill Paugussett, Niantic, and the Quinnipiac, in the land we all call home, Connecticut. We hope that from wherever you are, you take a moment to acknowledge and honor the native people whose land you are on and the history of the place you are in.
Tem certos dias em que eu penso em minha gente e sinto assim todo o meu peito se apertar, porque parece que acontece de repente, feito um desejo de eu viver sem me notar. Igual a como quando eu passo no subúrbio, eu muito bem vindo de trem de algum lugar, e aí me dá como uma inveja dessa gente que vai em frente sem nem ter com quem contar. São casas simples com cadeiras na calçada e na fachada escrito em cima que é um lar. Pela varanda flores tristes e baldias, como alegria que despeito de eu não ter como lutar, e eu não creio, e peço a Deus por minha gente. É gente humilde, que vontade de chorar. São casas simples com cadeiras na calçada e na fachada escrito em cima que é um lar. Pela varanda flores tristes e baldias, com alegria que não tem onde encostar. E aí me dá uma tristeza no meu peito, feito um despeito de eu não ter como lutar. E eu não creio, e peço a Deus por minha gente. É gente humilde, que vontade de chorar.
That was wonderful. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us, Festival 2021. We're here, believe it or not, the year of Imagine. This year, our programming explores the world as it is today and how it can be in the future. The festival is made possible through the generosity of people like you, which enables us to provide more than 95% of programming free of charge. Please consider joining our community of supporters with a gift of any amount today at artidea.org/donate. Welcome to Dinner Stories, everyone. It's so nice to be back. That incredible musician you just heard is Isabella Menges, a singer, songwriter, pianist, composer, and educator who comes to us from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Her album Blame Destiny was released in 2017. And she performs regularly throughout Connecticut with the Bossa Nova Project and as a member of Sambaliza. We're so lucky that she could join us today. Our first teller tonight is Mona Asweid, who is from Damascus, Syria. She is a fantastic cook that works with Sanctuary Kitchen. Tonight, she will be telling, with the help of her translator, Sana Abdu, her story, Seeds of Hope, about losing her hearing as a result of the war and how losing and gaining it back gave her a new voice. Mona?
بذور الأمل. في صباح من صباحات الشتاء الحزين استقليت السيارة من دمشق إلى منطقة عين الفيجة، حيث تقيم أختي التي أخذت منها الحرب ابنها. كنت أزورها لعلها تجد العزاء في عيون من حولها.
One sad winter morning, I took a car from Damascus to Ain al-Fija area, where my sister, who lost her son in the war, lives. I used to visit her, hoping she would find solace in the eyes of those around her.
وصلت في الساعة 11:10 قبل الظهيرة في يوم من أيام شهر تشرين الثاني من عام 2012 إلى ساحة عين الفيجة التي تعج بكل فعاليات الحياة في المنطقة، ففيها المحال التجارية ومسجد المدينة الكبير الذي سيجتمع فيه بعد قليل المصلين لأداء صلاة الظهر.
I arrived before noon one November day in 2012 at Ain al-Fija Square, which is full of activity. It has shops and a large city mosque in which worshippers will gather to perform the noon prayers shortly.
وهناك محل لبيع الفلافل. اعتدت كلما أتيت إلى الساحة أن أشتري من عنده الفلافل اللذيذة. اقتربت وطلبت فلافل ساخنة، فأجابني البائع بوجهه البشوش: نعم، سأحضرها لك، ولكن انتظري قليلا. ووقفت أتفحص المكان وأنظر هنا وهناك، وبجانب ساحة المنطقة رأيت سيارة إطفاء كبيرة، وهناك قطة تسير في وسط الشارع لا تعرف المصير الذي ينتظرها هي والمنطقة بأكملها.
There is a shop that sells falafel. Whenever I came to that square, I used to buy delicious hot falafel. From there, I approached and gave my order. The seller answered me with a smile. Yes, I will prepare it for you, but you have to wait for a while. I started examining this place, looking here and looking there. Next to the square, I saw a large fire truck standing there. There was a cat crossing the street, unaware of the fate that awaits the whole area.
رأيت طبيبا مشهورا في المنطقة يقود سيارته الصغيرة القادمة من دمشق. ركن سيارته وترجل منها وتوجه نحو المسجد، وما هي إلا لحظات قليلة حتى كانت القطة تطير في السماء، وسيارة الإطفاء أصبحت كأنها لم تكن موجودة. صوت مدمر، كان كل شيء.
I saw a famous doctor in the area driving his car coming from Damascus. He parked his car and got out of it, then went toward the mosque. A few moments later, the cat was flying in the sky. The fire engine seemed not to be there anymore. A thunderous, destructive sound was heard. Everything was flying, and that was the last thing I saw.
قصت بعد ساعات على مشهد لا يشبه الحياة. كنت مرعوبة. وخراب وموت وطعم الدم يملأ. ضخم زلزل المكان. انفجار أخذ الهدوء وأخذ كل شيء معه.
I woke up hours later to a scene that does not look like a life. Destruction, mess, and death all around me. A taste of blood fills my throat. I was terrified, but I understood that a huge, massive explosion has shaken the place. The explosion took the calm and took everything with it.
رأيت أشخاصا يتحدثون أن هناك دورية أوقفت الطبيب في أول الطريق بحجة التفتيش، وقام بعض الأشخاص بوضع عبوات ناسفة من العيار الثقيل داخل صندوق سيارته. عندما انفجرت حول كل شيء إلى ركام ودمار كبير وحزن عميق وخسائر فادحة.
Later, I heard people talking that there were a patrol that stopped the doctor at the beginning of the road under the pretext of search and placed a heavy explosive devices inside the trunk of his car. When it exploded, it turned everything into rubble, causing great damage and heavy losses.
بقيت في المنطقة 3 أيام، أعاني الآلام الحادة في أذني، والرعب يملأ قلبي، والطريق مغلقة ولا عودة الآن. نزفت أذناي ولا يوجد سوى الإسعافات الأولية. لم أستطع وقتها أن أعرف ماذا أصابني. يجب أن أنتظر حتى أعود إلى دمشق وأجعل طبيبا مختصا يكشف عن حالتي.
I stayed in the area for 3 days, suffering acute pain in my ears. Terror filled my heart. The road to leave the area was closed, so there was no way of leaving. My ears bled and there was only first aid. At that time, I did not know what had happened to me. I had to wait until I returned to Damascus and have a specialist doctor to examine my ears.
إدراجي بعد أن فتح الطريق، وعلى الفور حجزت موعدا إسعافيا عند أشهر الأخصائيين في مجال السمع. طلب فور تخطيطا للسمع وجاءت النتيجة الصادمة. أظهر التخطيط أن هناك تلفا كبيرا في العصب السمعي في الأذن اليسرى وتلفا أقل في اليمنى، وقرر أنه لا بد من عمل جراحي لزراعة عظيمات السمع.
After the road was opened, I returned to my home and immediately I booked an emergency appointment with the most famous audiologist. He right away requested tests. The shocking result showed that there was a significant damage in the auditory nerve in the left ear and some damage into the right ear. And he decided that I have to have a surgery, and a surgery must be done to implant the ear bone if I want to hear again.
ولكن الحرب بويلاتها لم تسمح لي بهذا. خرجت بآلامي إلى الأردن بلد لجوئي الأول لعلي أجد حلا، ومرت 4 سنوات ومعاناتي تكبر وحزني يزداد مع ازدياد نقص السمع عندي ولا علاج. مشكلتي السمعية تكبر والتلف يزداد وكل شيء يتطلب المال، والمال غير الموجود إلا لضروريات الحياة.
But the war with its misery did not allow me to do this. So I went suffering with all that pain into Jordan. Jordan is the country of my first asylum, hoping to find a solution. 4 years have passed. My suffering is greater and my sadness increases as my hearing loss increases. There was no treatment. My hearing problem is getting bigger. The damage increased and the money needed for any medical action is beyond my ability and limited to only the necessity of life.
وفي يوم أتتني فرصة عمري وانتقالي إلى بلد لجوئي الثاني، وهو الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية، في شهر شباط من عام 2017. ولم يتسنى لي زيارة الطبيب المختص إلا بعد قدومي ب6 أشهر. أقر أن التلف أصبح كبيرا والسمع ازداد ضعفا، فلا بد من العلاج وحل قضية الالتهاب أولا، ومن ثم سينظر في على السمع.
Finally, I had the opportunity of my life and moved to my second country of asylum, the United States of America, in February 2017. It was not possible for me to visit a specialist doctor until 6 months after my arrival. The doctor acknowledged that the damage has become severe and my hearing has weakened, and there's like severe infection that must be resolved first before investigating the problem of my inability to hear.
وأخيرا وبعد 5 سنوات من المعاناة الحادة والتي كانت تكبر مع سوء وضعي النفسي، حصلت على أول سماعات طبية لتحل لي جزءا من مشاكلي مع السمع، ولكن هذه السماعات لم تخفف من استعمالها.
Finally, after 5 years of severe suffering, which was growing and affected me psychologically as well, I got my first hearing aid to solve part of my hearing problem. But these aids did not reduce the problem, but rather made matters even worse, as I did not hear well even when using them.
ويكبر حزني كلما تعرضت لمشكلة، مثل أن يصدر عمن حولي ضحكات خافية وتمتمات لا أفهمها، وهذا طبيعي. أنا لا أسمع أو قد أجيب بجواب مغاير للسؤال، فتأتي ضحكات ساخرة. أحاول جاهدة الإصغاء إلى دروس اللغة الإنجليزية، والجميع يقول لي إني لا أسمع. شعرت بالانكسار، أعرضت عن الصمت أمام نفسي.
Those around me make faint laughters and murmurs that I do not understand because I don't hear, or I may answer different answer to the questions, and a sarcastic laughter comes. I tried extremely hard to listen in the English language classes. Everyone knows that I do not hear. I refused to study. I felt broken and defeated.
أريد أن أحقق ذاتي المفقودة التي هزتها الحرب والغربة. أريد أن أدرس وأن أتعلم، ولكن لن يتحقق هذا طالما الذين يتحدثون معي لا يستطيعون الصراخ، فأصوات البشر ليست على حد سواء في الارتفاع، وهم غير مجبرين على هذا.
I want to fulfill my lost self that has been shaken by war and diaspora. I want to study and learn, but this will not happen if those who speak to me cannot shout. Human voices are not equal loud, and they are not obliged to do so.
كبر القهر بداخلي يوما بعد يوم. أبكي مرارا وتكرارا على نفسي. أحيانا حتى عائلتي لا يرغبون بتكرار العبارات لي لأسمعها. عانيت الكثير. دخلت المشفى من شدة حزني. عندما غبت عن الوعي لا أريد الاستمرار.
The sadness grew inside me day after day. I cry over and over for myself. Sometimes, even with my family, they does not want to repeat phrases for me to hear. I suffered a lot. I went to the hospital from the severity of my grief when I passed out. I did not want to continue.
أعرف جيدا أن هناك أناس مصابهم أكبر من مصابي، أناس بلا أطراف وبلا عيون، أناس تعاني آلاما جمة، ولكن كل إنسان لديه ألمه الكبير الخاص به، وألمي وفقدي لسمعي بالذات في هذه المرحلة الحاسمة والهامة من حياتي كبيرة. الآن أريد أن وبدون سمع لن أتقدم. أريد أن أتخاطب مع من حولي في كثير من الأحيان. أنا أعرف الجواب ولكن لم أسمع السؤال، فكيف أجيب؟
I know very well that there are people who suffer more than me. People without limbs or without eyes, people who suffer from pain. But every person has their own great pain. The pain of losing my hearing at this crucial and important stage of my life is great. I need it now. I want to learn. I want to work. But without hearing, I have no progress. I want to address those around me often. I know the answer, but if I did not hear the question, so how would I answer?
ذهبت مرارا تكرارا إلى الطبيب ولكن دون جدوى، وطلب إعادة لتخطيط السمع، وأظهرت النتائج أن الوضع أصبح أكثر سوءا، وقام الطبيب بتغيير معاونات السمع التي كانت أفضل نوعا من سابقاتها، على الرغم من أنها لا تساعد أن يصل إلى مسامع الأصوات المنخفضة أو بعض الأحرف.
I went to the doctor again and again and again, but to no avail. Repeated audiograms showed that the situation became worse. My doctor finally decided to change my hearing aids, which are somehow now better than the previous one, although they do not help me with hearing of low sounds or some letters.
في النهاية، ورغم ما ينتابني من حزن وألم، آمل أن أستعيد سمعي يوما ما، وأن أتعلم كل ما أريده كأي إنسان طبيعي يعيش على هذه الأرض.
In the end, despite of my sorrow and pain, I hope that one day I will find a solution to regain my hearing and learn everything I want as any normal person living on this earth.
أنا أكتب قصتي هذه أشعر بالامتنان لمن وافقوا على منحي الثقة والفرصة لأبوح بمحتويات نفسي وأعبر عما أحمل من حزن أو من قهر، وأحكي للآخرين عن قصتي لأتحرر من القيود التي تكبلني منذ سنوات طويلة، وأشكر الناس الذين أتعامل معهم لأنهم احتملوا نقص سمعي وساعدوني.
As I write this story, I'm grateful to those who have given me the opportunity to reveal the content of myself and to express my grief and troubles and tell you about my story. Something I have not been able to do before because of the limitations that have shackled me from many years. I thank the people I work with because they endured my hearing loss and helped me.
وطالما يوجد مثل هؤلاء البشر حولي فلن أفقد الأمل، وبسبب الحب والأمل في عيونهم ستتجدد قوتي وعزيمتي وسأتابع طريقي بجد. وشكرا لكم جميعا على منحي هذه الفرصة.
As long as there are such people around me, I will not lose hope. I will find what I lost. They compensate me for the imperfection because of the love and the hope in their eyes. My strength and determination will be renewed, and I will continue my path with all the effort I will put. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
And thank you, Mona and Sana, for a very lovely and moving story. Thank you very, very much. We're going to go back now to Isabella with her music, and I'm just going to hand it over to her.
Hi. Hello. So the first song that you heard before Mona's story, and thank you again, Mona, for sharing your story with us, was about everyday people. The name of the song is Gente Humilde, and it's about the author singing from the perspective of someone who's very wealthy and rich and has many things, but he's looking at lives of everyday people like like us, and almost like he's a little jealous because even though he has all this physical wealth, he doesn't have the love and the connection that everyday simple people, simple as he put it in the song, has. And I thought it would be appropriate today as we're all here sharing our stories in different ways. And this next song I'm going to play is, it's for you, Mona. It's called Peace. And it's a beautiful song by Caetano Veloso, and it talks about the war and the peace, and how there's this like dichotomy of happiness and sadness that happens within war and peace.
encheu de paz, como se o vento de um tufão arrancasse os meus pés do chão, onde eu já não me enterro mais. A paz fez um mar da revolução invadir meu destino. A paz, como aquela grande explosão de uma bomba sobre o Japão, fez nascer o Japão da paz. Eu pensei em mim, eu pensei em ti, eu chorei por nós. Que contradição, só a guerra faz nosso amor em paz. Eu vim parar na beira do cais, onde a estrada chegou ao fim, onde o fim da tarde é lilás, onde o mar arrebenta em mim o lamento de tantos ais. A paz fez um mar da revolução invadir o meu destino. A paz, como aquela grande explosão de uma bomba sobre o Japão, fez nascer o Japão da paz. Eu pensei em mim, eu pensei em ti, eu chorei por nós. Que contradição, só a guerra faz nosso amor em paz. Eu pensei em mim, eu pensei em ti, eu chorei por nós. Que contradição, só a guerra faz nosso amor em paz.
Thank you, Isabella. That was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Our next teller is Sarah De Beer, who has been presenting programs of multicultural myths, legends, and folk tales since 1978. She performs to audiences of all ages, and she's an educator. And in 2004, Sarah was awarded the Barbara Reed Award for Distinguished and Outstanding Service to the Connecticut Storytelling Community. Tonight, she will be telling an Inuit story called The Cottonwood Tree.
There's a good reason that this story has been just resonating with me. It may resonate with you as well. It resonates with my year-long existence in a very quiet and protected place, and then suddenly taking steps out into this larger world. There was once a cottonwood tree growing beside the river. In the winter, when all was cold and frozen, the cottonwood tree was very content. But when spring came, and the snows melted, and the birds flew overhead, and the river just rushed past, the cottonwood tree felt like everything around it was moving. It too wanted to move. One day, that longing for movement came so strongly that it pulled all that yearning together, and it sent it down toward one of its roots, and that root made a slight movement. And so it tried again. It gathered up that yearning and sent it to another root, and it made a slight movement. So now it began this rhythmic gathering up the yearning, sending it to a root, and it began to make what you might consider steps. And it was so excited about the joy of movement that it paid no attention to where it was moving until one step took it a step too many, and it fell into the river, was carried out to the ocean, washed up on the shore. The cottonwood lay there on the beach, thinking of all the other wooden pieces that lay there, that this was its fate, and thought, why did I have to move? Why did I have to leave my place by the river? But at that moment, a bird flew overhead, and it said, Cottonwood, Cottonwood, why do you just lie there on the beach? You have 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. Why don't you get up and walk? The cottonwood reached up with what had been its branches and found it did indeed have a head and arms and legs. And it pressed itself up from the beach where it was lying down and began to walk. And it fell a lot. But it would push itself up and walk again. It was far easier to walk with legs than it had been with a trunk and roots. And gradually it got accustomed to its legs, and it was going back and forth on the beach so gracefully. If you saw it from a distance, you would think you saw a person going back and forth on the beach. And it might have gone on, walking back and forth on the beach to the end of its days, but that bird came back. And the bird called out, Cottonwood, Cottonwood, why do you walk back and forth on the beach? You must build yourself an igloo. The cottonwood felt words come out of its mouth. What is an igloo? It asked. The bird said, well, here on the beach, you can see there are many pieces of wood. You must gather them up and go to that hill beyond the beach. Make yourself a floor, a rounded home, leave room for a smoke hole, make a tunnel that will be your entranceway to keep the wind out. And then you will have made yourself an igloo, a home. The cottonwood was so excited to have something else to do with its arms and legs. It gathered up all that wood. It made itself a fine igloo. It went inside of its igloo and came back out again. It walked around the igloo one way. It walked around the igloo the other way. It probably would have gone on admiring its igloo to the end of its days. But that bird came back. The bird said, "Cottonwood, why do you admire your igloo going round it one way, round it the other way? Now you must build yourself a food storage platform." What is food? In the valley beyond your igloo, you will find there are many four-legged creatures. The larger ones you will kill, and you will bring their meat and their skins back, and you will take their meat. You can eat it. You can take the skins and cover yourself with them. But you must keep bringing them and put them up on a food storage platform. You'll store them for the next day, the next week, but you put them on the platform because there are other four-leggeds who will come and try and steal your food from you. The cottonwood was so excited, more things that he will be able to do. He built a fine food storage platform. He hunted and he brought back many, many creatures, four-leggeds with skins that he tried to use to cover himself, meat that he was able to explore eating. Winter came. One day, a great white bear approached the cottonwood's food storage platform, and the cottonwood took a heavy club and he killed that great white bear. He added its fur and skin and meat to the food storage platform. Just one day later, the cottonwood saw something else approaching his igloo. It was not a great white bear. It was a sled pulled with dogs. There were three figures. They came closer with three people. It was actually a sister and two brothers. When they saw the food storage platform piled high with meat and skins, they stopped. One brother called out, are there any people here?" The cottonwood stepped forward. "Yes, I am a person." They decided to spend the winter with the cottonwood. The sister felt sorry for the cottonwood. She made him much nicer clothes. They began to like one another. They became husband and wife. One night, all of them were sleeping in the igloo, and the cottonwood began to snore so loudly that he woke up his brothers-in-law and his wife. One of his brothers-in-law said, "You know, we never asked you. What is it that they call you? What is your name?" The cottonwood got very quiet. I have no name," he said. "Well, I know what we shall call you. We shall call you Kamoiluk, the loud snoring guy." And they laughed at the idea of a name like that. The cottonwood joined in their laughter. But deep inside, he felt a great happiness because now he had a name, and no one would ever know that he was once a cottonwood tree growing beside the river.
Thank you. That very appropriate for the times. Thank you very much, Sarah. We are going to have another song from Isabella, and I hope you're enjoying her music as much as I am.
Hello thank you, Sarah, for that great story. And this next song, it's actually a song that I wrote, and it's a little bit different than what I usually write and what I usually perform, but I thought it was pretty fitting with the theme today. And there's always this dichotomy that I lived with growing up between being an artist and an engineer, or between being an immigrant and, you know, being an American. And it's always like this dual life and struggle, and realizing all these different labels that we carry, being a woman, being a musician, being an engineer, being a storyteller. And this song is really about figuring out, who am I? Like, who is really me, and what that means for me as an artist, without worrying about the expectations of others. And I just thought that would be really fitting here, because it's really brave for all of us to share our story. And it's pretty fresh. I finished it this afternoon. So I hope that you enjoy it. Myself somewhere in time, between my childhood dreams and my adult mind, and I think back and analyze each changing moment of my life, but there's no clear divide between myself and I. No, there's no clear divide between myself and I. My identity, and even though the mirror shows I'm still me, my mind doesn't comprehend what my heart only can understand, that there's a part of me that stayed behind, but I'm not sure how to bring it back to life. I try to find my inner shining star. I need some clarity to find the light inside of me. I wish I knew just how to find my own truth, because I'm still me. There's no clear divide between myself and I. There's no clear divide between myself and I. There's no clear divide between myself and I, 'cause I'm still me. Yes, I'm still me.
That was fantastic. I can't believe you just did that today. That's amazing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Our next teller is Jamie Brickhouse. He's a New York Times published author, writer, and performer, a 4-time Moth Story Slam champion, and has appeared on PBS TV's Stories from the Stage, the Moth podcast, and even recorded voices on Beavis and Butthead. Wow. He is the author of the critically acclaimed Dangerous When Wet, a memoir of booze, sex, and my mother. The title of his story tonight is Blackmail Proof.
So I need to call my Catholic conservative father one morning. This is in 2012. And he's down in Beaumont, Texas, the small town where I grew up, and he's lived his whole life. And ever since my mother died, I have been calling him pretty much every morning. And these are just, just kind of check-in calls and to let each other know what's going on in our lives. But this morning is not going to be the usual banal check-in call where he tells me which celebrities were on Regis and Kelly that morning, or I tell him that the memoir I've been writing about my alcoholism and my mother is coming along. You see, I have just gotten a crash course in blackmail from my older brother, Jeffrey. And I need to get to my father before my angry brother, Jeffrey, does. And Jeffrey is angry with me because I refuse to let him and his very large dog move in with me and my partner, Michael, and our very small cat into our New York apartment. Sorry, but that is too close for comfort. And believe me, I know, because I've let him live with us a couple of times before. And this time I refused. And he's furious. And so he retaliates by leaving a series of 3D messages, deranged, demented, demonic. The last of which he threatens to tell Dad my dirty little secret. And how do you think your father's going to feel, he says to me, when I tell him that you're HIV positive? When I heard that, I just stood in the middle of my living room, frozen with fear. Now, you have to understand, I came of age sexually in the 1980s when AIDS was a forest fire raging across the country, across the world. It was a death sentence. There was no cure. And it was weighed down by the shame and stigma of how you got it and who got it. And quite frankly, it's still weighted down with that. And I had been in the closet about it for the last 10 years. I had only told my partner, Michael, who wasn't positive, and a handful of our close friends. I never told my parents. My reasoning was that I didn't want them to worry and to carry that anxiety. But the truth was, it was shame. If I had any other life-threatening condition or illness or disease, if it were cancer, I certainly would have told them. And I had my own shame about it because I felt like I got it during my reckless drinking and drugging days, and I should have known better. And when I found out, I had gone to my doctor. I hadn't seen him in a while, and I thought I might have a little STD. And I went ahead and got checked out. And up to that point, I just thought I was one of the lucky ones that, I just it wasn't going to happen to me. And he called me a couple of days at work. And I was a publicist and I was reading a press release. And when he called and he said, well, Jamie, I have good news and bad news. The good news, you don't have gonorrhea. The bad news, you're HIV positive. And when he said that, I looked at the piece of paper that I had been writing, and the words just coagulated into a black cloud. And then he said, but Jamie, these days it's a manageable condition like diabetes. And he said it in this upbeat, jocular tone, as if I had just won the lottery. Only it was the lottery in that famous Shirley Jackson story where the winner is stoned to death. And after that, I thought it was still kind of a death sentence. I thought, yeah, I know there's medication, but what? Have I got 5 years? And at that time, it was 2002, and there were good medication. The drug cocktail had already happened. So as the years went on, he was right, my doctor. It was just a manageable condition. I took 3 pills a day for a while, and then it switched to 2 pills a day, and then 1 pill a day. And sometimes I forgot I was HIV positive. So after I heard that message from my brother, I'm standing in my living room, paralyzed with fear and shame, let's be honest. And then I thought, is he blackmailing me? I mean, does he think that I'm going to beg him not to tell Dad and tell him he can come live with us? I don't think so. And that's when my fear morphed into anger. And I said out loud, melodramatically, like a soap opera diva, I will not be made to feel ashamed. I will not be blackmailed. It was my nobody puts baby in the corner moment. And so I picked up my cell phone and my hand trembling as much as Thumper the rabbit's hind foot. And that's when I called Dad down in Texas. And he picked up the phone. Hey, is this Jamie Boo? Yeah, how's that book coming? Oh, it's coming along. Well, hurry up and finish. I want it to come out before I die. I see on Regis and Kelly, y'all are having some bad weather up there. Listen, I cut him off. Have you heard from Jeffrey? No? Why? Well, good. Because I need to tell you something. And besides, I should probably tell you anyway because I'm thinking about writing about it in the memoir. All right, I'll just blurt it out. I'm HIV positive. I have been for 10 years. I never told you and Mom because I didn't want y'all to worry. And you don't have to worry. I've never been sick. I take 1 pill a day, no side effects. You know, these days, it's a manageable condition, like diabetes, I said, invoking my doctor. But then I added a coda. But hell, it's better than diabetes. I mean, diabetes is a pain in the ass. Dead silence on the other end of the line. And then, but you're going to be okay, right? You're going to be okay. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. I mean, I'll die someday, but it won't be from this. Yeah, that's what I've been hearing. They've got some good medication these days. It's not the big deal that it used to be. No, it's not anymore. And then he started telling me which celebrities were on Regis and Kelly that morning. Done. After that, we pretty much didn't talk about it. But one time when I was on one of those phone calls with him, he mentioned that he was going to the annual Paint the Town Red Gala fundraiser. His unsaid words spoke louder. The fundraiser was for the local AIDS support group in his town. After that, I made the decision to include my HIV story in my memoir. I thought it was just too big a part of the whole story not to include it. So basically, I came out by including it in that book. And Dad died a few months before the book came out. But he did read the manuscript, so he knew it was in there. Hurry up and finish. I want it to come out before I die. And you know what? I'm glad that he went to his grave knowing that about me. Because he was able to give me one last time what he had always given me, his unconditional love. And you know what? When I told him that I was HIV positive, I didn't care who else knew. I didn't give a damn if the whole world knew. It liberated me. I was blackmail proof. Thank you.
Thank you. Great story. Wonderful telling. Thank you very much, Jamie. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed Jamie's story. You can see him again on the 26th at the Festival Story Slam on the main stage on the green. We're going to have one last song with Isabella.
This last song is called O Morro Não Tem Vez, which means the slums don't have a turn in literal translation. It talks about how, you know, if we just give a chance to people, that the world will be a better place. And I think the song translates not only with discrimination against the Black community or the poor community, but also against any oppressed community. So this song is called O Morro Não Tem Vez, and the words say, if you only give a chance to people, maybe the world will begin to dance again. Mas olhem bem vocês,
I hope you're all giving her a great round of applause wherever you are right now. That was fabulous. Thank you. And thank you to all of our tellers, Mona, Sana, Sarah, and Jamie. Thank you for such a wonderful evening. And thank you, our audience, for joining us. I hope you come back to Dinner Stories June 12th for the theme then is Remembrance. And check out everything that's happening at the festival by going to artidea.org. We have some great things coming up next week. We have a food happening, big read, Joy Harjo on the 20th, and Arts on Call. And while you're at the festival website, check out our audience survey. It's very helpful to the organization. It only takes a few minutes to fill out. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, tellers. Thank you, Isabella, for a wonderful evening. Good night.
Picture